we don't really have a self. The self is a construction of our minds. There actually is nothing there. We walk around like automatons. We walk around asleep. We function when we go deep into something, when we bore deep into a subject. Time is short, you could die tomorrow. Life is shorter than you think, so you don't have time to waste. If you're 20 years old, do not go on that wrong path because it gets very difficult later in life to adjust. What is it that makes you an individual, makes you unique, that you alone are meant to accomplish in life? There is a purpose to emptiness, right? It's not necessarily good to be always having to fill things up in your brain, like you're just pouring food into your system. There is something actually kind of intrinsically beautiful about the idea that there is emptiness, that I don't really have a self, that there is actually not, that there is no such thing as a mind, actually. It's an illusion that we create. It's something through words that we have. So that sense of emptiness, that I don't have an ego, or that I'm confronting the world and I'm just hearing and seeing things as they are, is actually a beautiful thing. So I have to kind of struggle against this idea of always having to fill myself up. If you think about it, our inner lives are actually quite boring. The same thoughts repeat over and over and over again, the same emotions, the same preoccupations, the same anxieties. And other people, they're so different. They have their own worlds, right? It's like traveling to another country. So we should actually be much more oriented towards other people. We should have a natural interest in their world because it takes us out of ourselves. It's like therapy. But it's been deadened by so many things in our world, by social media, by the pressures we're under, by just modern lifestyle. And so that empathetic muscle that everybody has is kind of atrophying. And yet there'll be moments where it kind of sparks to life. And you feel like, God, I want that. I want more of that in my life, more of that in my world. How do I get it? You go through a thing where a thought pops up and it's like, why am I thinking about that? I don't like it. You realize that it's just a thought. And what is a thought? It's not real. It's a phantom, right? It has no reality. Reality is your body, the present moment, the birds outside, the sky, where you are sitting, the fact that you're alive, that your blood is pumping. These are real. But that thought in your mind is a shadow. It's a phantom. It doesn't exist. It has no reality. And so I go through this process where don't engage with it. And it's really weird because then my mind plays tricks on me and it pulls up a thought that's definitely going to engage me, right? Because it wants that. It's like a sugar rush. And so I go, okay, no, I'm not going to engage with it. And it made me realize as I went through that process that this is what social media is based on. Social media has mirrored the human brain on a large scale. We have thoughts that are designed to grab our emotions and make us think about them repetitively over and over again, compulsively, right? And there's probably a purpose behind that. But social media is actually a genius at that. It's putting up things up there. They're going to engage our emotions. So we have to pay attention. So I always every time that happens, I withdraw and I say, it's just a thought. It's not real. It's not who I am. This is a very important part of meditation. Your thoughts are not who you are. They're a separate part of yourself. You are something different from your own thought. Our minds are basically topsy-turvy. They're upside down. So the reality is we don't really have a self. The self is a construction of our minds. There actually is nothing there. And that kind of emptiness, that egolessness, is enlightenment. It's a beautiful feeling. And maybe in your life you've touched upon it briefly. I know I've touched upon it briefly. It's not the reality I have every day. But that's real. And what's not real are the thoughts. But everything is turned upside down in our worlds. And so these delusionary thoughts about people, about who I am, about my habits, etc., they become our reality when it's exactly the opposite. Meditation is all about becoming aware of these things, because we walk around like automatons. We walk around asleep. We're on automatic pilot constantly. We're not really aware that we're breathing, that we're existing. We're not aware where our thoughts come from. We're not aware of how our body moves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a process of slowly becoming aware of these kinds of things. Like, who really are you in the end? What constitutes you, the essence of you? What were you meant to accomplish in this world, right? Your sense of purpose. What is it that makes you an individual, makes you unique, that you alone are meant to accomplish in life? Well, it's not given. We don't know it. And a lot of people really, really struggle with trying to figure that out, right? Because they've been programmed by their parents, by their siblings, by the culture, by their teachers, to say, this is who you are, this is what you should believe in, this is what you were meant to accomplish in life, this is what's cool and what's not cool, okay? And so you have to question yourself. You have to say, is this really who I am? Am I really interested in this subject? Am I really interested in this kind of person, in getting in a relationship with this kind of person? And so questioning yourself on that level, you're getting at a deeper and deeper core of maybe who you are at essence. You're cutting away all of the social stuff that's been foisted upon you, that it has nothing to do with you, right? So in some ways, you're kind of a mystery to yourself, and you're sort of trying to solve that puzzle. And you have to ask these questions. Is this something I'm actually really interested in? Is this an intrinsically important thing to me? Or is it something that's in the culture, or something that other people have told me? And questioning that over and over and over again is not to lead you into this abyss where there's nothing real. It's to get you closer to who you are, to what really matters, to what that essence of you is, to what you were meant to accomplish in life. And once you reach that inner kind of gold, then you have a degree of certainty. Mm-hmm. So I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a writer. I had a struggle to figure out what kind of writing I wanted. But knowing that's who I am, probably about at the age of 8, it allowed me to go, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. This isn't important. Why am I following this career path? Why am I wasting my time here? And then, so knowing that kind of core, you don't have to keep questioning yourself. So I'm never going to question myself. Why are you a writer? Why are you writing books? You should have been a pop star. You should have been a rock singer. You should have written poetry. You should have been a lawyer. No, I'll never go there, because I have that firm ground beneath me. And that's what your questioning is supposed to lead to. Get to the essence of who you are. And once you're there, you have a degree of certainty in your life.
But the problem is the human brain is what it is. It isn't a piece of technology that somebody developed recently. It's something that has hundreds of thousands of years of development, and it has a certain way that it operates and a certain grain to it. And you want to go with that grain, and you want to be excited by learning, and you want to make connections in the brain between different things, and you want to be able to focus so deeply on something. I like to think of the brain as this kind of landscape. And it can be rich, and it can be one where all these different plants are emerging, or it can be like a wasteland. And if you learn different things and you focus very deeply and you're excited by what you're learning, then all of these connections will start happening in the brain. And so if you go through that apprenticeship focused on developing real skills in whatever that is, by the time you finish your apprenticeship, let's say you're 30 years old, you'll be set. You'll be able to create your own business. You'll be very creative. You will lay groundwork for something really important to happen. But if you're distracted, if you're focusing on 100 different things, that's not how the human brain functions. We function when we go deep into something, when we bore deep into a subject. I know when I'm writing a book, the first attempt that I make at something is very superficial. It's not interesting. You wouldn't believe how bad my writing is on the first go. But I go deep into what I'm thinking. I cross it out. I do something else. I edit it. By the 10th time I go into it, something interesting is happening. So when you focus deeply on something, ideas will come to you, and sometimes those ideas will be brilliant. when you were born, your DNA, there's something completely unique about you. Genetically, there's never going to be anyone in the past or the future who will be like you. Your parents who raised you, they're also unique. So you are a unique individual. You were so at birth, right? And when you were very young, 2, 3, 4 years old, you were attracted to certain things naturally. I call them primal inclinations. Things that you loved very deeply, that you were drawn to, that you were attracted to. So I'm saying you had those moments when you were 5 or 6 years old, but your problem is when you were 18 or 19 or 20, you took a wrong path. You listened to other people. You didn't listen to yourself. You listened to your parents who said, Robert, you should go to law school. You need to go to business school. You need to go become a doctor. You need to get something practical and make a living. And you're alienated from that deep, deep love of something that you had when you were 4 or 5 years old or 6 years old or whatever it is. And then you go down a wrong path. So the way is to get back onto that path. And the way is to reconnect with who you are, with what you truly love and what your interests are. But the problem is you're so in tune with what other people are telling you, you're not listening to yourself. You don't know what makes you unique. And if you look at all of the really successful people in this world, people, the great entrepreneurs or in any field, they're one of a kind, right? There's nobody else like a Kobe Bryant out there. They're one of a kind, okay? So you lost that somehow. And when you're in your 30s, you can get back to it. But what you need to do is you need to be practical in life. You can't just suddenly start all over and go, I've been learning these skills. I went into law school and I'm not happy with it. You can't now turn around and say, well, I'm going to be a poet or I'm going to be a rock star. You've already learned skills. You have to build on what you have and take it in a direction towards something that you really, really love, right? You need to be practical and you may have to compromise a little bit. But when you're in your 30s, you can still do it. And because you're young enough and your mind is flexible. As you get older, you get rigid, you get set in your ways, and it becomes harder and harder and harder to do this process. When you're in your 40s, it's still possible, but it's getting harder. When you're in your 50s, it's getting almost very, very difficult. So the real lesson for people out there is if you're 20 years old, do not go on that wrong path because it gets very difficult later in life to adjust. But if you're in your 30s, you have to reassess yourself. You have to get a journal, and every day you have to write down things about what really excites you in life. What it was when you open a book and you read about something and you go, wow, that just attracts me. You have subjects like that, but you've just become alienated from yourself. You're not listening to yourself. You're not listening to that voice in your head, and you need to find your way back. The problem is, in this era of social media, we have so much information coming at us that we're confused and we're distracted, right? There's all this noise, this static going on in your brain. You're hearing what people are having for lunch. You're hearing about this outrage, this problem. You're not able to focus. So the main thing here is you got to really, really go into yourself. You got to cut out all that crap. You're taking it seriously. Because a lot of people who come to me, I can tell right away they're not serious about it. They kind of, well, I'm not really happy. Maybe Robert can help me figure it out. No, damn it, you have to figure it out. It's not up to me. You're not taking it seriously. You're playing a game. You kind of have dreams and you wish. No, you got to take this seriously. Your life is at stake. Time is short. You could die tomorrow. Life is shorter than you think. So you don't have time to waste. So take this thing seriously. That's the number one thing I tell people. And what take it seriously means is it requires time. All right. You're going to carve out, let's say, a week of real focus. And I think you could do it longer than that. But let's just say a week of clear focus. All right. You're going to get a journal, a book, or a computer. If you do it on a computer, I recommend an actual book because the brain and the hand, there's a process, there's a magic that goes on when you handwrite something. But in this case, writing in a journal is the best idea, I think. But I don't want you to be on the screen all the time, okay? I want you to be really listening to yourself deeply. Okay, so you're writing things down. You're going to begin by saying, these are the things that I love and these are the things that I hate. And you can put it in you can divide the page in half and do that if you want. So to give you an example, things that you hate and dislike are a very important part of figuring out your life's task. So knowing what you hate is very important for knowing what you love. All right. So you cut things out. You cut all the stuff out that you don't want to do. You're not interested in math. You're not interested in numbers. You're more of an idea person. I don't know what it is, but you're going to write down the things that you love, the things that you hate in the present moment. What this is really about, Sam, is you're connecting with yourself because you're not connected to yourself. And that's the number one problem people have in this world. They're listening to other people. They're imitating other people. Oh, this is a cool person. I want to be like him or her. No, you got to be yourself. You're not connected to yourself. So this journaling process is going to take you through several days of reconnecting with who you are.